hello. Please don't make fun of me because my headphones have a cord. Before we get into this week's episode, I wanted to let you all know that I am actually hosting a whole series on the Slushy University YouTube channel. So please go over there and subscribe. The first video is going to be out this coming Tuesday, October 3rd. Honestly, I can't believe it's going to be October 3rd. A national holiday for us Mean Girl watchers. Iconic.
What day is it?
October 3rd. So definitely go and subscribe so you don't miss the first episode of this series. It's going to be all about Slushy and how you can grow and be successful on their platform. I'll see you over there, and please enjoy this episode with Blair Bini.
Hello, welcome to Thrivecast podcast, where we talk about success and what it means to different people on the internet. Today we're talking with Blair Bini. Welcome, Blair.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. We've had a few conversations before, and we've actually talked quite a lot. So let's give the audience a little bit of a background on who you are and then how we met, and then we can go from there. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm Blair Bini. I started in this whole S-work industry August of last year, so a year now, literally, almost to the day. It's so cool.
You're like your S-work anniversary.
Yeah, my slutty anniversary. I love it. Yeah, so I got into it because I was pretty unhappy with my corporate job and where my life was headed, and I really just wanted to give it a shot. It's something that had always been in the back of my mind. And pretty early on, I started on Slushy, so that's how you and I started talking. Was I saw you had joined, so I wanted to make sure that I let you know that I was like so excited to see you there. And sure enough, you messaged me back, and we've been chatting ever since.
Yeah, I saw all like your content was on the feed all the time when I first got on. So I was excited to like actually talk to someone who had been on the platform before I had, and also before the wave, I feel like, where a lot more people came on. So that was really cool to like just get to know you and stuff. And then I found out that you also do OnlyFans and social media and everything. So now I watch all your TikToks too. I kind of want to dive into a little bit of your background and like where you came from as far as career-wise, but also family-wise, like how your life has kind of shaped you into the person that you are today. And I think it takes kind of a unique type of person to get into this industry. So I always like to dive into a little bit of like how we as this type of creator became who we are. So if you could tell us how, maybe where you grew, like what area you grew up in and how that shaped it, or your family life, anything like that.
Yeah, so I grew up basically in the Southwest United States, so pretty close to California, but not quite. And
Okay.
I don't know, I had a pretty like normal upbringing, like, and a very like good one. My parents loved each other. We never had family drama. I have a big Italian family, so it was just kind of always like close knit. It's really fun, and we're still very close to this day. So I think that that's something that a lot of people are taken aback by. I think that's something that people are taken aback by because they're like, "Oh yeah, what about your daddy issues?" And I'm like, I love my dad. I don't know what to tell you. I just think it's really fun to like tell people.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I had a pretty normal childhood with really great, awesome, supportive family and parents. And yeah, it was just a really nice, very lucky upbringing, I would say. But as I got a little older, like I started getting into like Playboy and Girls Next Door and all of that obsessively. Like,
Same.
I loved it. Yes, it's so good. And I think at that point when I first started watching it, I had always had it in the back of my mind that like, this may be something you could do. You would probably love this. Sure enough, I do. It just took me until I was 30 years old, 31, to start doing it. But yeah.
I definitely had the same interest when I watched the show. I was like, I don't know how I want to be involved in the industry because I don't know if I wanted to be a Playboy bunny, which I am, so like, hey. But I didn't know if
so
that was like a lifelong, like, I was like, oh yeah, this came full circle. But I didn't know if it was like like if I necessarily like knew that that's what I wanted, but I was like, oh, I'm so infatuated with this industry and like as a whole, like it's so cool. And I loved that the girls could just be themselves and have fun and like live a happy, successful life just from literally being themselves. And I always say, when you can be yourself and that is your job, like you're winning. That is just, I think that's the ultimate goals. But yeah, I was so infatuated with it. So you think that, well, is your family open-minded? Was that ever like, did you ever like question, like when you watched these girls on TV, on Playboy and stuff, were you conditioned kind of, I would guess what the norm would be is to kind of be judgmental towards people that are in the industry? And I know for me, I was very actually, even though I watched Playboy, when I was in, I guess, like my mid 20s, I was kind of judgmental. Like early 20s, I was a little bit judgmental towards the industry. And I guess maybe I was jealous. Like I wanted to be part of it, but I felt like, you know, it's too taboo. So, growing up, did you ever face any of those like taboo moments where you thought, oh, well, like, you know, and how did you overcome that if you did?
Yeah, I really didn't because honestly, I watched it with my mother. We loved it. And we
Oh,
still will sometimes bring it up, but like we both were fascinated in the same sort of aspect of these girls being able to just live their lives, be happy and be themselves and just
yeah.
enjoy. So we both really loved it for that aspect, but no, she never ever like put anything in my head that it was like taboo or wrong to do or anything like that. It was never even a discussion. It was just a let's watch these people enjoy
Fun
themselves
show.
without judgment. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
I feel like sometimes like the standards are like, you know, like there's like the beauty standards and then there's like what's acceptable like standards wise. This one has definitely been something that I would say is a little more taboo for the norm of like what people think. And so it's nice to have been grown up in a family where it's okay to be you and express yourself in a sexual way if that's what you want to do and you're an adult, you know? So
Yeah.
that's really awesome. So tell us about your job, what you were doing before you started doing this, what types of jobs you had in the past or anything like that.
Ooh, okay. This is where it gets a little like wild because a lot of people don't know these things about me. But when I was in high school, I started at like a trade school part-time. And for
Mhm.
2 years, I was basically doing like pastry like full time. Just
You were making
enrolled.
pastries?
Yeah, so so I was doing that for like 2 years of my high school career while doing my full-time high school curriculum.
Uh-huh.
And I wound up going to a nationwide competition and winning like a full ride scholarship to
Oh
a
my
private
God.
university.
That is
So
incredible. What a dream.
I know it was crazy, but like I got there, I did 1 year. And I realized that, like, number one, because I already had those 2 years under my belt, I was so bored because I was years ahead of everybody else and I
Hmm.
hated it. And then I was just like, and then eventually I started like I have a lot of health problems, and that's when it started for me. So at the end of that year, I was just kind of like, it's not worth my health or my time or anything like that anymore to keep doing this because I knew
Yeah.
that that industry would just be so hard on me physically. Because you know, as bakers and pastry chefs, you're in the kitchen probably at 3 a.m. to get everything started, and you're not leaving till about 1 p.m. And I was
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
that's not for me.
Standing.
That's not for
Standing
me.
all day.
Yeah, standing all
It's
day.
on
Oh,
your body.
yeah, and like when they made us do like the butchery classes, you would be in a literal freezer, a walk-in freezer for 8 hours a day.
Oh
Just
my God.
layered up. They would let you out for like 15-minute breaks here and there and then a lunchtime and that was it. And there
That
was
is,
like icicles dripping from the taps.
oh, your fingertips must have been freezing.
It was
Did you wear gloves?
terrible. Huh?
Do you wear gloves?
Yeah, we had gloves. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
It
Huh.
was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. And that was just when I was like 18, 19. I was doing all of that.
Wow.
And I was like apprenticing with other chefs and like I
Yeah.
burnt myself out so bad in that year trying to be like a full-fledged pastry chef. And I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. So then I went home and I started going to regular college and jumping from job to job. And then eventually I became an esthetician, which is even more weird to me to think about sometimes. But I still do stuff for people every once in a while, like eyelash extensions and eyebrow lamination.
Oh my gosh. That is awesome. I love all that type of stuff. Like, I sometimes do my own nails. I got my nails done this time, but like, I sometimes do my own nails. I learned how to do eyelash extensions, but I can't do them on myself.
Yeah, it's a little hard.
Yeah. I love all that type of stuff. And I'm not an esthetician, but home, how to DIY, that type of thing. I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So you have like a lot of like odd jobs or like different, those aren't even odd. They're just like really fun, cool, different jobs, but it just didn't feel right to you. It was like not what you wanted to do. Did you know like this is what you wanted to get into for a while before you started? Or was it it just kind of like switched overnight?
It was kind of a switch overnight. Like I said, it had been something in my brain, like always in the back, just like telling me like, oh, maybe this could be it. And then I would just push it to the side and go about trying to be normal. And the real breaking point was when I started working in my corporate like banking job, and I was just like miserable one day going into work, and I was like bawling in the car, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I hate it so much. And it was a terrible experience, a terrible time in my life. And then like that's when it clicked for me. Like, you don't have to be miserable. You can do things. You can do whatever you want. It's a huge world. So eventually I was just like, F it, I'm doing this. We're gonna give it a shot. And it worked.
And I think it works because you gave it like a full shot, You actually tell us about the start. Because I know that you were still working when you did start. So tell us about that balance and pushing for this, like really going for it full force.
Yeah, before I even started, I did all of the research that I could, because knowledge is power, baby. In this industry, you need to gather as much as you can. So I was watching like your YouTube videos. I was watching Thrivecast, which is so crazy this time last year. All the time, like trying to get all of these. Yeah, seriously, you taught me so much. And I was just like gathering all of this information and like making little lists of like things that need to be done before I even like start my page, just to make sure I had myself set up. Which I'm so glad that I did that, because once you start, it is chaos, absolute chaos. Once you start getting like DM after DM. So I'm glad I did that and like researched for a little while. But when I started, I was still working 40 hours full time in my corporate job. So I was doing this on the weekends. And then eventually I was able to switch my schedule so I could work 4 days a week instead of 5. And then I would use that extra day to like pump out more content. So I was working nonstop.
Did you kind of have to put your personal life aside for a little bit to like get the ball rolling with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was pretty much just ignoring everybody. I was like, no, you have to focus. We're not going out. We're not doing this. Not that I go out a lot, but like there were times where I was like, I'm good. I'm busy. I got things to do. Yeah. Obviously, I had to make up excuses of like, I'm working on my house or something. But, it was just kind of like, like honestly, it was a full-time job. I never really took a break. Not even once. I in the beginning, it was like that for me too. Like I did not take any breaks. I really wanted to like make sure I felt super confident in what I was doing, and like that I could produce enough content, that I could talk to my fans enough, and like all these things. So I put so much time into it. I remember my sister who lived with me, she was like,
you are always on your phone. And I was like, I know, but I need to right now. Like, this is the time to do it, like right in the beginning. Because obviously, after a while, you can lay off a little bit because you built up like a certain amount of content and your fans know you better. And so they respect your time a little bit more and, you know, all those things. But in the beginning, it's a lot. And to build up your social platforms, like, it doesn't happen overnight. So you really got to put a lot of work into it. I remember I put so much time into it in the beginning, and it's a lot. But you mentioned you didn't go out that much before, or like anyways, and we were kind of talking about this before the podcast started, but we are both homebodies. And so I want to touch on that because I was saying I feel like it takes a homebody for this type of work. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you spend so much time at home, or, you know, because you have to create this content. It can't really be done anywhere else sometimes. Like, have you always been more of a homebody, is my question?
Always. 100%. I hate leaving my house. I hate going out. I'm not a socialite. I can't do it. I get exhausted by it so quickly. So I'm always home. Always. No matter what.
Yeah. I love being home. I just feel so, like, you know, grounded at home. I feel so comfy at home. Like, I definitely like to make my home, wherever it is, wherever I live at the time, like, comfy, cozy, like my things, just the way I like it. So I'm with you on that. I'm an ambivert. Have you heard of that?
No, what is that?
It's an extrovert and an introvert, and it's basically like when you need time recharging by yourself, but you also need time recharging with people, and it's like a very close balance. You know, there's like extroverts who are like, they need to recharge by being around people, going out, doing this and that, and I don't need all that, but I need like some type of social interaction. So what I like to do is, and it's so crazy, we talked about this, we kind of have like a normal like Monday through Friday schedule, and that's so that I can spend, you know, the weekend still doing some things with friends, and then that's like my little recharging there. But then the rest of the time, like 80% of the time, I'm by myself or like at home. And let's talk about that scheduling, because you kind of said you have a similar schedule, right?
Yeah. Like, now that this is just my full-time job, it's Monday through Friday. I barely log on the weekends. I'll do a little in the morning, a little in the evening, just to like say good morning and good night to some people. But it's Monday through Friday, baby. It's like a normal ass schedule, and I love it.
Is it what you expected?
No, it's not at all. Because when I first started and I was working my full-time job, I had this like tunnel vision of just like, this is what you're doing now. And I was never really like looking forward. And I don't know. I looked up one day and I was like, oh, wow, things have changed. And it just kind of like gradually did that. And I was like, I did not see that coming. Not at all. I thought it was going to be like 24/7 constant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was wild.
I didn't really know what to expect when I started, because I didn't have like how you said, like, there was people already making YouTube videos, so you saw some of my videos, you saw probably other people's videos and stuff. When I started, there was probably like 2 other people, and they only had one video about OnlyFans up at the time. And so I didn't even know what to expect. I kind of like went into it a little blind. Like, didn't know if I was gonna make a career out of it at all. And now I'm like literally almost 4 years deep, and it's like, I would consider that a career if you're 4 years into it, you know? And I had no idea. It's crazy because now I feel like there's actually like a path that you can take. Like, you can take these steps and get to like the place that you want to get, and you have an idea of like how long that should take, or a little bit. Obviously, everyone's going to be different. Do you think that there's like a step-by-step, like a few steps that you took that you think were really important and crucial to your success over the last year?
Yeah, I think the biggest step that I took that I benefited from the most, like especially in the beginning, was not just signing up for OnlyFans. I signed up for like every platform, and I tried them all out. And I experimented on each one with different content and different like posting times, everything, just to figure out what I liked and what worked without like feeling like a failure because I had all my eggs in one basket. So I was able to like gradually like phase the ones that weren't working out, and then I've narrowed it down to 2 platforms, which I think was so, so helpful. So like I did like loyal fans, Fansly, everything. And I think that
Yeah.
that was like really crucial to me, like finding out how to succeed in this, because if you can't experiment, you're gonna fail.
I 1,000% agree with that. If you can't experiment, and also like you said, like some like failure is okay because you're gonna learn from it and then you can keep moving forward. So as long as like you can't actually fail unless you stop. Like if you completely stop, then yeah, you failed. But if you are, you one thing didn't work, that's a good way to put it. One thing didn't work and you learn from it and keep moving forward, or you try and experiment with something else, you're gonna learn the techniques to get to the where you want to. So it's funny you landed on the same 2 platforms that I did, which are Slushy and OnlyFans, but you found it first. So you were experimenting a lot better. It took me a little bit longer. And
Yeah,
why do
Slushy
you
was
think
a big experiment.
why do you think you landed on those 2? Like what sets those 2 apart?
um, yeah, OnlyFans is obvious because they have the most users. Like,
Mhm.
guaranteed there are people on there. As long as you can promote yourself, you can bring people to that page. They probably already have an account. So that's what kept me and still keeps me on OnlyFans, is just the fact that it's easy to find people to come to your page. Um, but Slushy was so different because it was brand new. But when I joined, I didn't know it was new. I had no clue what I was doing. I was just like, yeah, okay, it looks like, an uncensored like type of Instagram deal. And that was before they like really switched to pushing video content, which has been pretty recent. So it was just like, a lot of Instagram baddies posted on there, and I was like, well, okay, let's try it. I'm not an Instagram baddie, but I'm gonna give it a shot. And
You
I
are
would just
Instagram baddie.
definitely not yet. I'm working on it though. And like these girls have like millions of followers. I'm like, damn, okay, this is cool. And then I saw like the chain smokers on there, and like I was just like, oh, okay, so like it's a real platform. This is happening. And I think
Yeah.
my first month, I was just posting photos and like occasionally something for subscribers. And I made like $1,000 just without even noticing it. And I was like, I logged in one day and I was like, well, how much have I made? And it was like $1,000. And I was like, I didn't even try. I didn't even try. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is serious. Like we're gonna actually do something with this. So that one was crazy, but I never promoted it. I never had it in my links. Everything I've done on Slushy has been organic within the app, so it was really cool.
My first week on there, I didn't really try, and I have like a video on how much I made. I can't remember exactly, but I remember opening the thing and being like, I didn't even try. Like, how did I make however much? It wasn't anything like crazy the first week, but I mean, over the first 2 months, I thought it was a really significant amount. But the first week, I was like, I just started posting like a little bit. Like, I wasn't doing anything crazy. It wasn't hard work. Like, it honestly was a lot easier than OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Um, so I totally get that. How did you find it originally?
I was following like another creator on Instagram. I'm pretty sure it was Sorry Dad, and she's like an artist, and she does like a lot of like nudity in her art and everything like that. And her account would just get banned or all kinds of stuff. You know how Instagram is. And I saw that she had in her little highlights like something about Slushy. She's like, if my Instagram gets banned, this is where I'm gonna be. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I went over and I joined just to follow her and support her.
Yeah.
And then like once I had started though, I realized I was like, oh, I could be on Slushy. So I went and I used her referral link, and I was like, okay.
Oh,
And that's how I got in. But I just found it organically through Instagram.
oh yeah. I think I saw it first from Francesca Fargo, who
Yeah.
she was like too hot to handle, and she's on TikTok and stuff, and I follow her, and I remember seeing that she was on it. I think that was the first time I saw it. Um, And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, it said like, you know, invite only type of thing. And that was the first time I saw it, I'm pretty sure. That's the first time I like have a memory of it. And then when my whole thing with OnlyFans, when my page got banned, then I was like, okay, it's time to like actually not put all my eggs in one basket like I keep preaching. And I thought I wasn't, but when it happened, I was like, maybe I am. Because I had like a fancy, I have a, but for some reason, it's not like that the platforms weren't good, the other ones, but that I felt like, just like you said, like not everything is gonna work for everyone. So some platform, you kind of have to try out different things to see what works for you. And I just felt like those ones didn't, like I didn't connect with them as well. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. You know?
I felt the same way when I was on Fansly. It wasn't clicking.
Yeah,
I still have
something wasn't
because I'm not gonna delete it, and I'm just kind of like, it just sits there now, and I'm like, well, maybe one day I'll go back. But,
and I think also, like you said, you don't want to have you want to have your eggs in different baskets, but you also don't want to spread yourself so thin that you like can't actually like nurture and like create a good system for yourself. So I think it's like good to have them. And if it starts working, it starts picking up, then you can start shifting your focus and giving the energy where it needs like the energy. But yeah, I think it's like a balancing act between like not doing too much, but still trying everything. Where do you find the
most of my fans?
Like, where else are you promoting when you're actually, like, I see, like, you're making a lot of TikToks. Is that working for you? Like, those types of things. Like, where else are you promoting?
Yeah. Basically just Instagram and TikTok. I just recently started getting into Twitter. That's brand new for me. So I'm trying it out. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. But TikTok has been the most successful, I would say, now that I've figured out how to not get banned.
Yeah, that's a balancing act too.
Yeah, definitely. But TikTok is definitely the most successful for me.
I have another question. So some people don't have like an issue with this, some people do, and I always like to just bring it up because it's, you know, that's what the conversation's all about. I think that in this industry, sometimes we're looking at a lot of different people, like we're talking about being on all these different platforms, Instagram baddies, this and that. And I think part of this industry, at least for me personally, in the beginning, not as much anymore, but in the beginning, I was very comparative of like what I looked like, and I was very judgmental towards myself and kind of harsh, and I still have my days. But is that something that you have or had to struggle with? And how, if so, how have you, gone about that?
Oh yeah. I definitely did struggle with it. And I still do, just like you. Everybody has their days where you're just like, you are looking at all these beautiful models and you're like, that could never be me. And I still have that to this day because I'm like, I'm short, I'm pale, I don't work out.
I'm short and pale and hardly work out.
That is not true.
No, it is true. And I'm like super curvy, which I guess in this industry is a good thing, but like for some reason in my head, I like judge it so hard about myself.
I do too. Like I think my pain point has always been like my stomach's never been flat. It's never going to be. I have a lot of curve, a lot. But honestly, I got over it real quick once I started getting more and more subscribers and them being like, well, wow. I like that about you. Like, I like that you're flat. Your boobs aren't perfect or anything like that. And then I started actually changing my mind. I was like, oh, okay. So I guess this is how it really is. It's like, I am the niche. Like, how I look is the niche. And there is a place for me and my body type. And it took me a while to realize that because I think in the beginning I was definitely trying to imitate all of these beautiful models and everything. And it was so awkward and just not personable. And I was just like, okay. And then I started doing my own thing and then it took off. And I was like, this is it. You just have to embrace yourself.
Yeah. I love that you said that it was so awkward when you were trying to be somebody else. I think that's so important here because in this, I think what makes this so special for a fan is that it is, genuinely you, and it's not like, you know, the reason why they would come to these platforms over going to like the traditional stuff is because it's like they actually get a connection with or like, you know, a real person, and it's not just this model that's acting, right?
Yeah.
And in most like mainstream porn, it's mostly they're actors, you know? So with this, it does feel like genuine, and not to say like I don't act, you know, some people might not act. Maybe I'll cut out the part where I said
a
that.
couple times.
I have to act and
Request.
stuff. Yes, there are some requests where you gotta act some things out. I'm not the best actress, but but in general, like it's like you get this real connection, and so like they want the real you, and like that your body is the real you, and like and that should be, and people love that about you. So it is like, now, like I said in the beginning, I was a lot harder on myself because I was doing the same thing, and it was so freaking awkward trying to be somebody that you're not. And then finally like coming to an acceptance with yourself. I also think that it helps me because I see myself so much that I'm like now a little bit more comfortable in that body, if that makes sense. Whereas before I was doing this, I didn't want to look at it. You know, I never looked at my hoo-ha. Like, when would I ever have looked at it? And now I look at it all the time. I'm like, hey, girl.
And now you're like, oh,
so,
damn, that's a good ankle.
yeah. No, literally, I'm like, oh, that looks great.
I had a plastic surgery, like, consultation scheduled in October of last year. So just a couple months after I had started, but I had made the thing, I don't know, months before, just to like, I don't know, see what I could do about my boobs, because I was getting unhappy with them because I was comparing myself. But then a couple months in, I started getting like compliment after compliment after compliment, and they're like, oh my God, they're perfect. This is what I was looking for. And I'm like, they're just boobs, but okay. And then I canceled the appointment. I was like, you know what?
Aw, yay.
So it totally flipped me, like changed my mind completely on my body.
That's amazing. That's really good, because I mean, and that's the thing too, is like I've talked to girls that have had surgeries, and because they wanted to have those changes, and I think that's great too. But I think what's good about it is like I feel like this industry just makes us more comfortable with those decisions. Like if you're gonna do it, like you've seen your body a million times, you're comfortable with that decision. If you choose not to, like you chose not to, like I've had like a lot of thoughts too, like, oh, do I want to change this or that, right? And I keep going back to no as well, mostly because I'm scared of needles. I know I say that, and I have like all these tattoos, but I'm actually so afraid of needles. Like I'm scared of going under, I'm scared of needles. So that's mostly the reason. But I think also it's part of me like becoming more okay, like I start to like these things. Like I used to really, really, really want a nose job. Like I always wanted a nose job. I have a bump on my nose. It's more like you can kind of see it more there. And I still don't like it, but I see it so much now that I'm so used to it. So I'm like, all right, you know. But yeah, either way, like whether you choose to do things or you don't, like it's totally okay. But I like that this industry is like, I don't know. I just feel like overall this industry is very accepting, and like you learn a lot about yourself in the process, which I think is healthy to do, is like learn about yourself. And a lot of people are so, and that's another thing too, you know, sex and your sexuality and everything, it's such a normal thing, but like I was saying earlier, can be so taboo if people don't talk about it. And I feel like this opens the door to have real conversations. And I think a lot of like even my fans, like they don't have a safe place to talk about their kinks and this and that. And this is a safe place to deal with it.
Yeah, I get a lot of people come in and they're like, okay, I'm like kind of embarrassed to talk about it, but like I really like this and that. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like let's go for it. I don't know. It's just so fun to be able to have that space to just, I don't know, not be taboo about taboo things. It's great.
It's funny because it's so not like, I don't understand why it's so taboo, because it is such a natural and normal part of life. Like that literally almost everybody takes part of. Obviously not everybody, but like I would say almost everybody takes part of, whether it's behind closed doors or not. Like, and most of the time it's behind closed doors, but like it's one of the most normal, natural things in this like life. It's so crazy
It's so normal.
obviously this podcast is all about success and how like all of us have found it on the internet. How would you measure your success? Like, do you measure your success in numbers or in like fans, in how much money you're making at the time? Is there different measures? Is it how you feel as a person? Because I know sometimes it's not always about money. It can be just if you're feeling happy, if you're healthy, those types of things. So tell us a little bit about how you measure your own success.
Ooh. Yeah, so I have started measuring my success by my followers because I'm so impressed with myself and where I have come from, like literally starting from zero to now having like thousands of fans. I love it. Like I look at that and I'm like, damn, you did that. And I was like,
you should be proud of yourself.
I know I hit 7,500 on SLUSHY, and I think I know I've been growing 1,000 a month, but I've already this month hit 500, so I'm gonna be way over 8,000 by the end. And I'm like, this is crazy. Anyway, so it's just like, to me, that is like peak success. I'm like, yes, you're doing it right. Something's going right. And then the other thing is like how I'm feeling, because I am somebody who has struggled with illness my entire life. I have a lot of problems. And since I started doing this full time and just like setting my own pace, doing my own schedule, I have been able to like manage my conditions so much better. And like my hair stopped falling out. I've been able to get off like certain medications, and it's just like my health has gotten so much better from being able to just be.
That's good.
And I love that.
You're less
so, like,
stressed.
Sorry?
You're not as stressed.
Yeah, the stress really does trigger a lot of like chronic problems. And I was being told by my doctors before I even started this that, like, you know, we might have to consider something like disability or this or that, because it was getting so severe. Like, I couldn't get out of bed some days. I couldn't brush my own hair. Like, I literally was so sick all of the time. And I was just kind of like, I was struggling. And now I'm not struggling. Now I'm like, I'm managing it. I'm doing great. I am like so happy.
Aww.
I've never felt better. So I'm just like, that's honestly the most like amazing thing. And that's really how I've been measuring like my success.
Yeah. I think it's like it's a two parts. Like you definitely want to like obviously you don't want to be too obsessive with numbers because those can fluctuate sometimes, or they can slow down and stuff. But I think it is good to see like, okay, you're clearly doing something right, so keep like moving forward in that direction. I think it's good to like do some number work with that. And then other parts of it is like making sure that you're healthy and happy and your body's okay and you're feeling good. And that takes, I think, it takes a lot, because obviously some of it can't, like, obviously some of us have illnesses that can't be fixed necessarily. And then some of those things, you know, you can at least make improvements towards. So I think that's awesome that you're feeling like so much better. I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but would you want to discuss that a little bit more, like the difficulties that you've had with your health?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about it. You said that it was hard for you to get out of bed. Was it depression or like something else?
So I have like a couple of like chronic nervous system problems. So in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and that came out of the blue. That was one of the reasons why I really like got out of like the culinary industry as a whole, because it was very difficult at the time to like physically manage it. Especially with like all of the medications and the testing and everything they do when you have that illness is just insane. It like consumes your whole life. And then
God.
like I was never getting better, and I still like, I mean, obviously to this day I have it, there's no cure, but it's just kind of like, I started getting worse and worse and getting, eventually they told me, they're like, you have a little bit of brain damage in your left temporal lobe. And then I started getting like more and more symptoms, and like, okay, well maybe it's this, maybe we misdiagnosed you. I was going to like neurologists and cardiologists and all of this. And then finally we just settled on, okay, you're broken. You also have POTS, which is where like you stand up and like your heart rate goes crazy and you pass out, which is why I'm laying down in like all of my photos and videos. Like I'm sitting or laying down. Because if I stand for too long, it's too much work. Like I'll pass out. So it's just kind of like, anyways, that's where it's been a whole journey from my 20s to now where I'm 32 of like figuring out how to like manage all of these illnesses, especially as they like come up. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to stay healthy while you're so busy. So I think that now that I'm like busy, but I'm busy on my own terms, it's even better. So, yeah.
And you can plan your life where, you know, if maybe one day you can't take content because you are having difficulties, like you can, you know, schedule your week differently or whatever. And it's, I'm sorry you're having to go through all that, but I'm glad that I think, you know, no stress though. Take over. Stress can make it so much worse. And if you're busy on other people's terms, like how are you going to take care of yourself? It's crazy. So I'm glad that you got into an industry now where you can actually manage, you know, your life. That's great. And I think it's also nice to like share those types of things because you never know what someone's going through or, you know, what's happening in their life, what illnesses they're dealing with or what, like you just never know. So I think it's good to like have these honest discussions about the things going on in our lives because that's what connects people. And I think, you know, if someone's watching this and they have certain issues that they're trying to overcome, whether it's something similar or different, it's nice to hear like, okay, there's somebody out there that's gone through this and I can get through it too. So thank you for sharing that with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the mysteries to me, like starting was like, am I going to actually physically be able to handle it? And the answer is yes. So I think if I could do it, a lot of people can. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's a question so many people have. Like, can I do this with like the full-time job? Can I do this with the illnesses that I have? Can I do this with, you know, there's so many things. So it's nice to talk about it and hear other people's stories and how they're able to overcome different challenges in their life. So I think that's important. Okay. I want to talk about two different like sort of similar things. One of those things is managing money and then also your goals as far as like what this looks like long term for you. And I know that this is still like kind of a new career that you're entering in because it's only been a year. So there's so much possibility that could like your life could take. And I had no idea when I first started where I wanted my career to go, but I think I've kind of like sort of found my place in the industry, if that makes sense. So I would love to hear like what you foresee in your future, and then let's dive back into like the money side of things and like knowing how to manage your money, because that's always a question people I think have is, well, when you come into money, well, how do you deal with it, especially like if you're self-employed and doing your own taxes, and there's so much to talk about with that. So I feel like they kind of go hand in hand because it's like planning for the future type of stuff. So let's start with the career-wise like goals.
Okay, so career-wise, honestly, what set it off for me was I was working in finance and I came across an application. I was the person that would review people's incomes to like verify and validate that they can qualify for the loan that they were asking for. And I came across another OnlyFans creator. She sent in her whole tax return and I was astounded. And to this day, I was like, that is my goal. That is where I'm going to be. I know it is fucking possible. I'm going to do it. So my goal is like to the moon. Like I'm not limiting myself at all because I don't think that there are limits in this industry. You can go as far as you want, which is freaking awesome. So anyways, I stumbled across her application and I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever fucking seen in my life. Like, I can't believe it. She was pulling in like $300,000 a month. And I was like, oh. And that was after taxes taken out, by the way. After taxes. Yeah, I was like, this is I went home and a couple weeks later, like I thought about it again. I'm like, you need to subscribe. You need to go see what she's doing. So I did.
Yeah. What was she
It's
doing?
so cool. Oh man. Yeah.
Her content was good?
It's pretty good. She was like a really big model, and she has a really high subscription price. It was $30 a month, like the max. She's one of those models, and I was like, damn, this is crazy. But
that always shocks me too. Like, because I think that I used to have mine at 30, like a long time ago when I first started, and I don't know, because I see like a lot of huge creators pulling in that type of money, and theirs are like at $4.99. So yeah, you know, there's so many ways to do it.
There are. I think that finding your subscription price is like the most important to your success, because you never know. Like once you change something, things will change. If you go from like $14.99 to $18.99, whatever, it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also pulls in different types of subscribers, I've noticed. So.
I've noticed that too.
Yeah.
Do you want to stay in this lane? Like you're the content creator, that's what you want to do, or do you want it to grow into something else? Is there other goals? Like one of my goals, like just as an example, one of my goals is to buy property and rent it out. I don't know why, but that has been my goal for so long. So all I want is to buy an apartment building. Like I want to make all this money to buy an apartment building. I don't know why, but that's like one of my like career goals. I again can't explain it. But is there anything like that you want to have in the future that is a career goal? Like it's not like you want to buy a house, because that's like a goal I would say most people want, but more like career oriented, where it's like a money making goal.
Yeah, my money making goal is basically to be able to start investing like a lot. I want to do like big, massive investments. I am so fascinated by all of that. Like I'm starting a brokerage account. I have all kinds of accounts going. And I'm just like, I am so into investments and like all of that stuff. So that's been my goal, is just like being able to like put more and more and more money into those accounts and like watch it grow. But as far as like career wise, I'm tired. I just want to do this and then relax. Like that's it.
Yeah.
My dream is to do nothing and be rich. It sounds ridiculous and silly, but like that's my goal.
It's not ridiculous. I feel like that's totally achievable, and like it's becoming more and more apparent. I feel like that is achievable. You know.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about how you're setting that up for your future, because so many people ask me like, oh my God, I don't know how to do my taxes. Do you have like an accountant? Do you do your own accounting? Do you like you said, invest? Do you have like a Roth IRA? Those type of things, you know?
Yeah.
Do you plan your future in that way as well?
Absolutely. From the beginning, I was setting aside 30 to I think 55%, which is like usually the self-employment tax, just from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I've always had that, but I put it away into a high yield savings account so that it's not a total loss by the time I actually have to pay my taxes. Which
Great.
Everybody needs
there.
to do.
Good advice. Yes.
Don't touch it. It will grow. You'll be good. But yeah, so from the beginning, I knew like how the taxes worked and finance from behind the scenes. So like I had in my head a whole plan for if I ever became self-employed. But I do a lot of my own like, spreadsheets to track like things that I buy for the business and this and that. And then I got an accountant who does this as well. And she switched full-time to being a CPA, and she's been helping me, which is so awesome. And I think we're going to start doing like quarterly taxes and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I got help right from the beginning with the accountant, thank goodness, within the first couple months.
Yeah.
Because it was year end, and I was like, well, let's see what I need to do to set it up by April to make it like not as painful as it's going to be. But yeah, I get help. I also utilize like spreadsheets. Every type of account that can grow your money is the most important. Don't just let it sit there in a checking account. Keep moving it into places that will grow. because that's been
Mm-hmm.
the best move that I've made so far.
Amazing. That was like honestly the best advice I could hear was the putting it into high yield savings account for your taxes, because then you're making money off your taxes that are just going to be sitting there anyways.
Exactly.
And all your savings too should be in something like that. And that was something like that I didn't like know anything about this. I like when I first started, I never had that type of money before. I just worked a regular corporate job. My parents didn't come from money, nothing. So I kind of had to like learn as I go. And it took me till last year to start doing all those things, which sucks because I would have had a lot more if I would have started. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a while to figure it out, but I'm finally like on track, I feel like. And I would definitely recommend to like talking to professionals, because even if you have to pay for it, it's gonna pay itself, really. Like it's gonna be helpful, because if you don't know what you're doing, having someone that does know what they're doing, it's gonna be beneficial. So,
Absolutely.
1000%.
My CPA is a wealth of knowledge, especially for like other people in the industry, even like strippers, everything like that. So she has like spreadsheets already pre-built for you to just manage all of your like write-offs and everything. And she sets you up. It's worth every penny to get help. I promise. I would mess it up royally if I didn't have help.
I messed it up like the first couple years. I really messed it up.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do taxes. I thought I could do them on TurboTax. And I think if like maybe if you know what you're doing and you've worked in like accounting or something, maybe you would know, but me, didn't know. So that is great advice. Okay, so let's wrap up this episode with your best advice, which I feel like you already gave it in that last statement. But your best advice for someone just getting started in the industry and wants to be successful, and they just want, a good juicy tip, which you've literally already given them a million, but if there's one extra one you want to give now.
Oh God. I would say do not try so hard to imitate other people in the beginning, because that held me back so much, because nothing took off until I started being myself. And it sounds like a stupid cliche type of deal, but it truly is the absolute truth about this industry, is that people want you. They don't want a fake model.
Okay.
So be yourself. Like, if you're into Star Trek like I am, talk about it with your fans. Wear your glasses. It's not that dorky. They love it. Like, just be yourself. Don't try to hide things or, I guess, play into other stereotypes. You create your own niche. Don't let other people try to form you into something else. But yeah, that is like the biggest piece of advice.
Okay, wait, that spiraled something and that I need to ask.
Yeah.
Before we get up all the way. Okay. So I talk to a lot of people who are very, very new to social media. And so when they come on, they're making content that doesn't really make sense for the platform. Like TikTok, for example. They think that if they're just like dancing to a song, but they're not actually like, they don't know the dance to it, or like they're just moving to the song, I'll say. And then they're wondering why there's no views. So something that I actually do tell them is kind of a little bit of the opposite of what you're saying right now. So I just wanted to like get your take on it. It is like to imitate people that are doing well so that you can learn what does well. And then it doesn't mean like it's basically copying. And I feel like, I mean, copying is the best form of flattery, right? And for a lot of people, they need that to understand what they're meant to do. So I think what you're trying to say, though, is like authentically show up as yourself and don't copy like forever, like once you understand. But I wanted to get your take on that. Like, do you think people should not, like, especially if they're like, when they're just getting started, not copy at all? What's your take?
I would say you can copy, because that's obviously what I did, where I was experimenting on every freaking platform, but put your own spin on it. Make sure your personality is showing through it. Don't just act like somebody else completely, because it's never going to land well. But like, you can still do what these other creators you see that are successful like doing. Like, you can do like day in the life of an S worker or whatever. Just same format, but just show you. And if you're going to do a dance,
Yeah.
so that like, you know, you're dancing as you, like in clothes that you would normally wear, not just like the exact same outfit you saw on someone else. Like put your own little spin on it. But obviously, yeah, do it, try it, experiment, because that's the only way you're ever going to really find out about yourself and what you can do and how you can succeed. So you got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. Like how you said, like, also you are into Star Trek and you would wear glasses and all. Was it Star Trek or Star Wars? Oh man, I think was it Star Trek,
Star
right?
Trek. You're good. You're good.
Okay, cool. So you're into these things and like show up as you with those things and incorporate them into the ideas that maybe you've learned from somebody else. And I think that that's fine. I totally agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, shout out your pages. They're obviously going to be linked down below. But if anything you want to shout out specifically, let's say that now.
Okay. Well, obviously I'm at Blair Bini on both OnlyFans and Slushy. And then my TikTok is that chick Blair Bini. And that's usually where I'm at. And then Instagram, Blair Bini with 2 eyes. That's me. Come follow me. Also, if you come to Slushy, say hi. I really like talking to new creators on there. I think it's so fun to be able to like network with each other. So, yeah.
Yeah. She is the best at Slushy, like goals. Well, with that all being said, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Go and follow her, and we'll see you in the next one.